Good evening, I am Tomas Guevara Calderon, and this is the channel Rewriting the Reality. Subscribe to this channel to remember who you are and your divine origin. In episode 127, I explained how the Bible was assembled. Now let's explore a little more about Genesis in today's episode number 127a. According to the Bible, the first human being was Adam, created by God. Let's explore Adam's family history as described in the book of Genesis. When God created human beings, He made them in His own likeness. Adam became the father of another son named Seth when he was 130 years old. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. In total, Adam lived 930 years before he passed away. Seth had a son named Enos when he was 105 years old. Seth lived 807 years after Enos's birth, having more children. His total lifespan was 912 years. This story is the truth if you believe in the Bible. But according to the same Genesis, the first human being was Adam, created by God. According to the biblical account in Genesis 2 verses 21 to 22, God created Eve after Adam. The Bible describes that God made Adam fall into a deep sleep, took one of his ribs, and formed Eve from it. Let me tell you a joke about this, and a very macho one. Since God created Eve, women have lived at the expense of men. Continue. The Bible does not specify an exact day on which God created Eve. In the creation account in Genesis, it is mentioned that God created Adam and then Eve, but no specific day is assigned for the creation of Eve. The creation of Eve is described in Genesis 2 verses 21 to 22, after God had already created Adam and the other elements of the world. The first children of Adam and Eve mentioned in the Bible are Cain and Abel. Cain was the firstborn and dedicated himself to agriculture, while Abel was a shepherd. The story of these two brothers is known for the tragic event in which Cain, consumed by jealousy, killed Abel. But was it jealousy for Eve or for her ugly sisters? Remember that the sons of God kept the beautiful daughters and left Cain and Abel the ugly ones. After Abel's death, Adam and Eve had another son named Seth, who was considered the ancestor of a line of righteous descendants. In addition, the Bible mentions that Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters, although their names and additional details are not specified. Adam became the father of another son named Seth when he was 130 years old. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. In total, Adam lived 930 years before he passed away. Seth had a son named Enos when he was 105 years old. Seth lived 807 years after Enos's birth, having more children. His total lifespan was 912 years. This is where the story gets interesting and murky, as well as full of doubts. Let's see, Cain killed Abel, so Abel had no descendants. Cain disappeared, and it is obvious that God did not get a woman for this murderer, so Cain was probably the first gay man in history. Genesis says that Adam and Eve had other daughters and sons. So, start analyzing this situation. Seth had a son when he was 105 years old. They named him Enos. But for this son to be born, Seth had to have sex with his sisters or with his mother Eve. If it was with his mother, then the Oedipus complex should be called the Seth complex, right? This small but big error from Genesis could be proof that the Bible is not true at all, or completely false. What do you believe? It seems that the answer is that God had other children. The Bible mentions this event in the book of Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4. This passage speaks of the sons of God who saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and took wives from among them. Although the text does not specify that these sons of God are gods in the strict sense, many interpretations suggest that it refers to angelic or divine beings. Some of the most common interpretations made by Bible fanatics include: some believe that the sons of God were fallen angels who united with human women. This would explain that Jesus was the son of one of these fallen angels who impregnated Mary. It would also explain Cain's jealousy of Abel for the ugly daughters that remained, since the fallen angels chose the beautiful ones. Another interpretation is that the sons of God were descendants of Seth, the son of Adam, and the daughters of men were descendants of Cain. That is, the nephews had sexual relations with their aunts. This interpretation is to rule out that the brothers had sexual relations with their sisters. A third interpretation suggests that the sons of God were nobles or rulers who took wives from among the general population. This would explain why Solomon had so many wives and concubines. King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines, as mentioned in 1 Kings 11 verse 3. These women came from various nations, including the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. The Bible also notes that these relationships led Solomon to turn away from God in his old age, as his wives influenced him to worship other gods, to see if he could continue to have sex because the Viagra has not been invented yet. King Solomon would confirm what my friend Sonia told me recently, that, compared to God, they are nothing. In addition, that women must obey their husband. It would also explain why Muslims can have the women they can support, whether they are wives or concubines. That is, a maximum of 4 women if they can support them. A worthy example of machismo. The sons of God would explain the origin of all races in our planet. Therefore, there is a black god, the origin of the Africans, one blonde for the Nordic race, one Chinese, etc., etc. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel.